This is so weird today. Two zero. 520832. 268.
Oh, Pasha, you can just now? I hope you can hear me now. I hope everyone can hear me now and see me. Can you see me? Everyone else still? Wonderful. Oh my gosh, I don't know what all is going on, but this is crazy. All right. Let me show you something. Let me show you what you were supposed to have seen this morning or in the early class, just so you know what I was talking about. Okay. This is what you were supposed to see today. This is the centerpiece, and I don't know if I pronounce it right, of my triptych. I think that's the way you pronounce it, but I'm not sure. And I printed out the center that I had made in Inkscape, and I actually have an extra ring added on up here. I decided I want a thrown off ring up there, and then no, actually, that's not a thrown off ring. That's where I'm coming out with a split ring to go up and start my chains around. I really like the this center part or the arc here, the arcs. And so I wanted to copy it up here. And when we look at it, I'll tell you a little more about that. But this is the centerpiece of my triptych. And here's the top. I'll see if I can go up higher now and show you more of it. Can't see all of it, but let me see. There's my top. And this is where I put the joins, top center. This is the bottom. Techniques must be, these are the lipless join you have to have and the split ring. And it says in each quadrant, but we're working in 6 wedges. So for this, now let me turn it over. Here's my first page. And you can see I put up here what chains can be, the choices. And across there, then I put in the one that says 7 picots separated by, oh, it says it's a lock chain as a choice. And then here's all the rest of them. And then I missed putting this one up at the top, this one that says 5 picots, 7 stitches, staggered height picots. And then I put down picot choices. So this is my first page. Here's my first page, my center page, and my third page, which I put rings, about the rings, and then the ring cards, and then those 3 that were a little different. They were in the picot section, but because they're talk about rings, this center one says onion ring, outer edge, I put them in with the ring on the ring page. This is the outside that I cut out that you'll see when we hop into Inkscape. So I put my center, and then I did even on the back, I put down the resources. So I have a nice little folder here. So what I'll start doing is making like where I have a split ring and whatever I put up here, I'm going to start drawing colored lines over to whichever of these there are. Maybe if I'm using the picots on rings, and just start making all my little branches coming out. My main branch will probably come out and say chains, And then I'll have branches branching out to each particular one, and I can write on the line with, I can put the lines to whichever choices I'm making over here. The line will come over here. There may be some more branches. I haven't gotten to that part yet. Um, but I tell you, some of these little ones are, this one is an individual. I had to cut them really close. You can see how I cut them out, a big section, and then I kind of cut out individual ones. But it was really time consuming, but I just sat and it was so relaxing. I really enjoy cutting and pasting. I put them on with double-sided tape. You could put them on any way you wanted to. And I'm going to use different colors for each thing. So as I go, I'll be showing this. And this is what I was working on. And I used it on cardstock. You can use plain copy paper. And I used just some black plumber's tape that I had, like duct tape. Oh, yes. Oh, Joan, that's a great idea to be able to put it in the Microsoft Word's graphic box, um, in a graphic box. One of the things I found putting on the tape is I found the best way that was I laid out the piece of tape with the sticky side up, and then I stuck the first edge on like this, so I could see that I was going about halfway up. And it's easiest if you start on one corner and lift up the rest, because otherwise it'll get stuck where you don't want it. And then kind of just go along and get it even. And I found doing it, I think I had it facing me this way, lengthwise towards me, and it worked good. And then I took the other page and once I had the duct tape on a page, then I took the other one. So here's my my duct tape would be on the back, and then where the duct tape showed, here where it was showing open on the right side, then I, again, one corner at a time, I butted up right exactly against it and smoothed it down all the way. And then what I'm going to be doing is keeping it in probably a pocket folder, one of my pocket folders like this that goes in a file. And I can keep it all together. And I can keep the original on this side, or if I work on more graphs, I will be when Janelle, I think it was, mentioned or showed, were you the one that did the graph in blue? I did then make a graph in a light blue color and printed it out. I hadn't realized that I'm not used to using those new sub parts under the, well, let me show you. So anyway, I'm going to be putting that up for everybody to get to. And some of the other grids too, all together in a package. So let me go now to Inkscape. All right. And actually, here is that. I'm going to put my computer forward now so that I can type better. Here is the graph. And I guess what I had trouble with is, I'm going to open up the layers palette. I hadn't realized, now that there's all these and different layers, that I really had to make sure that I was on the right layer. And then I was able to select my grid and go in and change to this blue color that I found. I'm actually looking at the ACE HSV. That's hue, saturation, and value color wheel scale. And I just picked one that I thought would work right and printed it out, and I really like it. So that's what I'm going to be using from now on for anything I do with 6, like snowflakes and everything that has the 6 hexagon shape or 6 points. Let me think a second here. Many times you can rename the layers so it makes sense. Yes, you can. And I don't think I have any of, oh, you know what? That's because I've opened it up a second time, maybe. Oh, I know. Let me go and get my other file open now. That's what I want to do. Open the round robin doily. Okay, here we go. I'm not seeing that I have any of these named either. I guess because I was working so fast, I didn't do that. I'm going to get this out of the way here. So I have to show you how the steps I was doing. Whoa, I just touched instead of using my mouse, I just touched my, what do you call my, my touchpad in the center of my laptop, which I don't want to do. So I'm going to back out some. Whoops, wrong way. And show you what I've been doing. Because I started out with just this center, and then I took what I had done from my other file and pasted it in here. So I've got the whole thing in here. And these are my steps. I'm going to zoom in here. I've been copying and pasting as I go. So here's where I added these. And this is what I put down that I like the look of the center, but the second round chains need to be wider. So here you can see I had them small because I was doing the paths. And then I made them wider from there and made them this kind of a size. And then I decided this second row needed something in it. And so up above, so what I did is I put in a ring on all except for this top one. This will be a split ring. And as I go around, then I'll be making these rest of them floating rings until I get back. But I put this one so I can come out of this row and actually have a nice thing. But notice here, I'm not touching right there. They're not together like they are on the pattern. So then I wind them even more. So now you can see they're both coming out of here. And I wanted to, rather than doing coming out of, no, I'm coming out of here. I'm sorry. Coming out of here, I decided wasn't possible. So I'm doing the split ring, and I'll go around and I'll come back and end right here. And then I'm probably going to put a different row. I know you guys saw this before, and that's this that I did before is what made me think to add another ring on top of this. It's really funny though, because then I did this about 4 or 5 days ago, I think. And then I saw when I was looking through the Facebook page that Jeremy also has a floating ring, but his is a lot smaller. Okay, I'm reading. Many times you can rename the layer. You like renaming them, and in the sublayer, name one ring and the other chain. Oh, that's wonderful to keep organized. You know, I've tried in this class so that when I'm demonstrating, you'll see my layers all named, but I got to working fast and just making paths and everything that I didn't have them all named. I got busy doing all this and the copies of my steps and what I found out. I think I wrote something else up over here too. What did I write? And I'm starting to keep notes now so that um, I can get everything written down for directions. Split chains, split ring out of first or out of third and turn work. I debated on that too, coming out of this third one. And then when you get to the end, you'd have to reverse work to get back up. So that was another choice. Do you tap the piece first and then the diagram after? I tatted this piece out of size 21st because I knew that the round robin diagram and that Tammy gave out in the class wasn't to scale of the size 20 that I wanted to use. So that piece you saw setting on top, and I don't think it's in this particular one, but let me go over here a minute. I actually did. I took my piece and I actually made a mistake. After I got to looking at it, I realized that when I came out first here, this isn't right. I missed one of the sections and don't have enough stitches. So I was already going to the second ring. And so I went to the second ring and then decided to keep going. And here I do have the right number here. There's actually the 4 and a mini picot you can't see and the 5. And rather than start over, I took this piece then and scanned it in and then manipulated to get the shape to match this. And this does match right up. Let me go back to my screenshot. Okay, I'm going to pull this up. And I'm using now the shortcut keys. If I want to view it, zoom in 1-to-1, notice it's just the number 1 up above. So, and that's what I like to work to is the 1-to-1. And then if I need to go in closer, I will use that. Just zoom in and then go back to the 1-to-1. Oh, I notice now I have this. I don't recall seeing this before. Anyway, what was I about? I lost my train of thought right in the middle. Oh, okay. So then I've got it zoomed in 1-to-1, and this does fit right on here because I wanted to be working on my diagram. I wanted to make sure I was working. So as I go on, I'm now designing on the screen once I had the center made for here. Now I've been designing just on the screen. And then I will when I get probably one more row done, then I'll start a new one and tat it correctly and try out my new shape. And I think I have, let me see, I may have to go to my other sheet now. Or my other, I should say file instead of sheet. This is something I use to help me. You can probably see that it is the actual shape of the rings in the center, and I was using it to help get me set up and get the right measurement. You'll also notice that one thing I could see is that when I was diagramming, because I didn't do the next round on, or the next group on my sample, I didn't realize that the picots seemed to be awfully close together. And the way it's set up here, these are two picots that look to me like they're going to overlap. I don't know if other people are having that same issue. So what I decided on this round, I've added this little red triangle. What I'm going to do, instead of having these two picots here just be separate, when I come down to join, this is telling me that, just for my own reference, that what I'm going to do is pull both picots up, join to both picots at the same time. That's how I'm going to make that join there. Does that make sense? And I'm going to go to the other file now. Let me know if that's making sense. And then I'm going to go to the file that I've been working on for today's, for what we're going to talk about today. Put this one down. And I'm going to open up my, it's either one of these two. First, I'll open this one up and see. Yep. That's going to be for the paths that we're talking about. And I think I have the other one. Let's see if it's this one. Oh, there it is. This is the one that actually has my, see, I've got my image on the bottom layer. And I do have this labeled center image. And you can see if I turn the eye off and on, that is where I imported in the scan I took of I scanned it in as a JPEG, and then I brought the scan in. We went over that in the very beginning. What I just had to do is go to File, down to Import a bitmap or SVG image. Now, bitmap, that is your JPEG. JPEGs are photo files. They're not vector images. They're bitmap images. Remember, the vector images are what Inkscape uses with the paths. Everything is done in that program by mathematical formula in there, rather than pixels making up an image like you have in a photograph or on your TV screen. Let me just grab. An image. Say I was going to use this image. I would just say, I've picked it open, and you get the little dialog box. I left everything the same. It says embed and from a file. And all I'd ever do is just, when I'm pulling an image, is just say, okay. And there's my image. Obviously, it's a much bigger image than. So that's on, I think, let me see if this one now is this path right here, I think. Nope, that's a paper behind. Maybe it's, yep, it's this one, the bottom one. It'd be good if I had labeled that heart and labeled this my round robin sample. So I'm going to turn that off. So that's how I got it in there. And then usually you're going to want to lock it over here on the right. I already have this image I already have locked because I don't want it to move while I'm working. The other thing you can do is, oh, I know where it is. If it's too bright for you, your image, you can go down here way at the bottom, and it says opacity. It's got an O right here. Here's your fill and stroke, and here's your opacity. And if I go down, notice what's happening. It's fading out so that you can work and see how now you can really see my drawing lines. And the image is just way faded out. So it's easier to copy over it and actually see what you're drawing. Okay, any questions about that? I'm going to just slide this down out of the way. It makes sense. Great. Okay. I guess the real answer to your question then, Joan, is I do both. I tend to start with a pencil sketch first and start tatting, and then when I have enough, I'll pull it in and to Inkscape, like I just did with my heart image. And I'm kind of, now that I'm using Inkscape a lot, I'm finding that I'm loving designing on it. However, sometimes I will have the same thing printed out and sit in the evening when I need to have all the electronics off and pencil sketch more in. A lot of people would just sit down and tap from there and then write their pattern and then pull the whole thing in and diagram it from there. It's kind of personal preference, and you'll find as the more you do this that you'll come to find out what your personal preference is in working. Back out of here. Oh, here's another one. I actually did a file save and saved a second copy. Because this is what I had designed to begin with going on, and I moved it off of here, and this is where I started with the rest. And so I have all of this, and I really could copy and paste any of it into a new file and do something totally different with it, because it's just amazing the things you can find that happen and that you don't realize are going to happen. I gotta find my sample piece here. Here's another file that I started using when I was working on pattern on a path. This is what we're going to do some of this today. Just to review, I actually did this on a path, and let me get something going first, and then we'll, that's still not the one I wanted. Let me find the one that has what I want. Sorry about that. I got a little disorganized with everything that went on this afternoon. Okay, I don't need that anymore. Not that one. Oh, that's why I'm not going. I think I needed to save that when I closed it. Okay. This is where I was working with, I was trying different things with pattern on a path. And this one I thought was really quite interesting. And I started out just with this. And as I was playing, some of the things I did came out with different results than I expected. And I got this. I don't, even this, I'm kind of intrigued by it and thinking, who knows what I might be able to do with that with something, maybe not even tatting. And here's another thing I got when I took just my one and did a single, I think it was a single stretched image, and it gave me this strange shape out of a ring. And then this is instead of a circle path, this is a closed path. So I'm going to go to this empty space here and go through. I think I confused everybody when I was talking about paths, and then I changed and was also in the same class session talking about using markers to make your path and rotate. And I got confused, and I think I confused everybody else. I know, that's what I thought when it came out. That's why I didn't just delete it. I thought it does. It looks like an acorn. Or if I would, what's interesting in diagrams is you see things that you hadn't noticed when you're just looking at a tatted piece. Well, oh shoot, whose is it that has the, yeah, but watch if I flip it. Whose is it that has the cowboy? Kalian? That had the round that looked like it had a cowboy in it? It reminded me of all the little ladies in a row that Muscan was working on one time, and I know some other people have done it. Look at it this way, though, except for the little, whoops. No, look, there's something else. That almost looked like a cowboy hat. Why is it? Okay. You know what? It's paths. If I rotate it, it looks like a painter. Yes, a beret. That's what I was saying. It looks like a beret, a face with a beret. But now it looks like this. And I think it's because these are the way they were stretched when I put them on a path, rather than having them go on, so that I ended up with something like this. And I'm going to show you how to get the right one, and we'll go through some things as how you make it. But you know, this is what I love about playing in Inkscape or a program like this is, who knows, maybe I'll want to tat something that starts with this kind of a center with overlapping. I wouldn't, well, I could do it overlapping big chains instead of rings to get the round shape. So you just never know. But let's go through the simple way to make rings on a path. Okay. And I found that, remember how I showed you one time how I make my rings from a circle? I have found that it's even easier. Oops, I got my fill on. And I don't think in the beginning when I was talking about fill and strokes that I think I was trying to color the strokes differently, and I believe I was using the control key instead of the shift key and not getting what I wanted. So this time I'm going to do it correctly. I'm going to go down to the arrow right here and click no fill. But now, if I click off of it, oh, I do have a stroke. Oh, I already have a stroke. Oh, I'm just crazy when I'm doing this. All right, I could go down to the lower left and either hold my shift key down and go to a different color for the stroke. You just make sure you're on the stroke. I'm clicking right on there. And then I selected something out of here. That also has popped up my fill and stroke panel. And you can see here, I used the same HSV so I could play with the color circle here. I'm not worried about the printing of it to get an actual color printing on it. So I am going to, though, for you to see, I'm going to change it back to black. Notice down here, RGBA, this is like a hexadecimal number, 08008CA. If I go to, let's see, I'm going to go to RGB. Oh, that is the hex number. It's called the hex number for web design uses hex numbers. They are the red, green, and blue that are used for anything digital coloring. Printing, remember, is CMYK. That's the way your inks come, printing inks. Anything you see on your TV screen, on this computer screen, on your phone screen, they're all RGB based, and that is a color model. And it's red, green, and blue because the color for digital is made up of those three colors of light added together. You know, normally when we look at things, even if it's a printed out paper or anything we see, it's a combination, it's a subtractive color model. The rays, remember that comes from the sun, the rainbow colors, they come down and they bounce off and reflect back, subtract all the colors that aren't in that object that they're hitting, whether it's a tree or a piece of paper, that printed paper, or anything like that. And it subtracts out all the color except for the one that you're using. And that's how the printing inks are based, because they're not actual light, they're oh shoot, how do I want to put that? The words were in my head and all of a sudden they popped back out again. They're made of, depending upon the materials, like if you're painting, like I've mentioned before in the design class, even if you're painting with watercolor versus acrylic color, you mix your inks or your paints a little different way because they're made of pigments. RGB, when you're looking at your TV, they're getting a digital light from inside the TV that works with the TV or your computer screen. And they're a combination of three colors of light, but not the light that's coming from the sun. It's your artificial inside your TV screen or computer. You're probably learning a lot more than you wanted to in an Inkscape class. But now I have got my object. I want to, it's an object. It has no node yet. If I hit my N key, I don't see any nodes. So remember to get your nodes. You can go object to path, or you can hold Control Shift C. Now I have nodes. And I usually take the bottom one and select it and go up here and make it the corner. This is a total review. You've seen it a lot of times. But I never always liked the shape. I'm going to get my selector tool, which is S. The shape to me was a little funny there, but it really is a good teardrop shape. But sometimes I like to get my N for my node tool again, which is edit nodes right up here if you're clicking on things. I would move these two up a step each. But I also found that if I just take this one and use my keyboard down arrow, move it down one, that's one movement instead of two, moving these up. And I do like that shape. So now it's a path. It's no longer a circle object. It is a path because it has the nodes on it. And either an object, plain object, or a node object, as long as it's just one, or not object, or a path, as long as it's just one path, you can use as a pattern. So I'm going to put it on a circular path. So I'm going to hold Control and Shift to get a circle, and I want it bigger, so this will fit around. And now I'm going to, turn that into, an object to path, because this one doesn't have to be. The pattern itself, if it's a single piece, doesn't have to be a path. But this has to be a path because you're putting the pattern on a path. And so now what I'm going to do is just back out a little so you'll be able to see when it happens. I'm going to click and copy this so it's on my clipboard. Now I'm going to go to Path Effects. And here's my Path Effects menu. Remember, it has nothing on it because we haven't gone and picked the effect we want. To get it down here, the first time you open it and it's blank, you get the plus sign down in the lower left corner here. Remember this, where I go down and find put it on a path. Where's my path? Oh, I know, it moved because I've got my window open so wide. I usually have had my window smaller and found this down on the left side. Okay, I click on that. Now, single stretched. That's what I did and got the acorn, because it stretches this one item to fit totally around this path. And obviously, one item, one teardrop can't fit around it. So it distorted it to make it into that acorn. And we'll do the stretched in a minute. Well, let me do the single stretched first. No, let me do repeated stretched. I want repeated stretched. And what it's going to do is repeat the object, but it's going to stretch ones so that they do fit, which means it might either make this larger or smaller. And I've got it copied now. And we're going to look at the spacing, which we haven't before. So this far right one is you want to link the path to the item on your clipboard. Oops, did I not have it? I had to have had it selected. Okay, let me copy this. Make sure it's there. Let me select this. Let me go and pick pattern along path. Repeated stretched. There we go. I don't know what I did last time that it didn't happen. Notice now how much wider these are. And even the bottom seems to be a little bit different shaped. That's because it took what we used for the pattern and stretched it to fit around and meet the beginning. That will be a time saver. You're making copies of your own, manually arranging them around and rotating them. Yes, yes. We have done before the rotate them around by using the stamp tool, which I don't know if you've ever used the stamp tool, but this really is a better way. Now, you can, however, go in. If I change this right here, look what it's doing. This is as if it's a clone now. Everything you do to the original is, see, there's where you start getting an acorn shape, I guess, without the beret. But look at all the things you can come up with just this one thing. Look at that. This is just amazing. I'm going to use my Control Z to back out. Or remember, we could always, I happen to have my history up here. Remember, we could go back in our history back to, here's where I created, applied the effect, and then I moved it. I guess these little changes it didn't do, but I could go back to here probably. Do I have my hand on my thing again? Uh-oh. I think my program, I think Inkscape's going to close. I did too many things and Inkscape is unhappy with me. See, it says up here, not responding. So, which one am I on? The 223? Okay. I'm going to have to close this myself. Close program and open it again. Because I don't have a huge graphics computer, my program doesn't want to work all the time, right? Oh, my experiments. I'm not sure if that's the one or not. I'm not sure that's one. It is. Okay, I got the right one up. But I didn't save while I was doing that, so it didn't work. So I'm just going to show you the next one. Or was I working over there? No. Here you can see one where I did it unstretched, and it doesn't meet here. I don't remember which is my original shape here. So I'm just going to quickly, I wonder if I got any extras up here. Well, I don't know. Make this over again. Okay. I've got nodes. I'm going to unfill it. And I'm going to go down here and click on Unset. Because my stroke is unset, if I just click on that, it pops up my stroke, fill and stroke, and I can click on stroke paint. And now I have a painted one again. There, when your program seems to be lagging, go into the File tab, hit the Cleanup. Oh, thank you, Katia. I did not know that. File. Oh, Cleanup Document. Thank you for that. I did not know I could clean up my, I think maybe I knew it maybe, but it's not something that sure wasn't anything that stuck with me. So I'm just going to get this shaped again. Okay. I'm going to hit my S key to get my selection back. I'm going to get my little circle made. I'm not even going to worry about whether I have a fill on this or not. Okay. Ah. 30 minutes before class tonight. Yeah, every time I'm in Inkscape, it seems like I learn something. And that's a wonderful one because obviously you all know how often I've crashed my Inkscape program. So I'm going to go back. I still have my paths up here, right here. And I don't know if I copied that to the clipboard. But you do know what's going to happen. It's going to fill it in, and if it's not right, it's going to maybe leave a gap. Let me just go. Oh, I got to select this. Okay. This is what I'm used to, having to go down here to find my pattern along path. And this time I'm going to show you, well, first let me just, I forgot it's single stretched. I got a neck pillow now. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to choose repeated, not repeated stretched, which is what we did last time, and it made it fit around. And single stretched gives me the acorny or funny shape. So I'm just going to do plain old repeated and click on there. Now notice there wasn't enough room to add one more, so it ended up just not closing it. But now we could space these out. I could either change the size of this, whoops, until they, I got them to, I guess that's as close as I can come to fitting. And then I could work with this, but you're not getting, and it's even got a funny dip down here. Now, why yesterday when I was doing it, did I come out with this? That they fit just nicely. But let's look here a minute. I'm going to go back to this, the original thing it did. What I could, if I want them close together, I think I would have to do, maybe I needed to do single. Nope, let's try that. Let me back out again. Okay. Let me pick single. Oh, I think that's just going to give me what? Nothing. I think I must have just had it the right size that it worked all the way around. We could add another one in. Let me try Isn't that crazy? Sometimes I get it and sometimes I don't. Because I know I used repeated. It might be that I used one that I knew would fit the shape around there. So I'm going to go back, I'm going to do over. Let me see if I can. What I did. And select them. Let me do spacing. Here's spacing. I just kept clicking it up until it put them around. Now, still, there are some little spaces between them, and that I think I can just tweak with a teeny little adjustment to the. It's going to be hard to do. Was it repeat? Well, repeated and stretch did fit them in, and that's probably what I did to make them fit in right, even though it changed the shape a little. I think that is what I did, yeah. The other thing you can do is I'm going to take this, I'm going to leave this same shape on the clipboard, and I'm going to make myself just a pen path. I just switch my node tool, make a little path like that. I'm going to move this out of the way. Oops, I can't right at the moment. I'll move this down. Move this down. So, but this is still on the clipboard. So now I'm going to choose this and do the same thing. Pattern along a path. Single stretched. But that's what I get with a line. Now what if I make it repeated? Now it's put them along the line. The only thing about this for tatting is by the time you get down here, it's wonking out the shape. So that's where I started working with the place them on markers so that they wouldn't do that. And I'm not going to do that tonight because it gets confusing with the paths. The other thing you can do is I have tried just doing this. I'm going to do Alt D to make a clone of it. Okay, there's my clone. I tried doing this, putting them next to each other and attaching what I thought was a chain attached. Like this. And then I thought, well, what if I wanted I'm going to move this over a little bit and widen this a little bit. What if I knew I was going to want a picot in the middle? Pen tool. A picot in the middle. And I thought, okay, what if even if I group it, I know it's not going to work on my circular path. I'm going to have to maybe move some things out of the way here. And then I'm going to make a new circle for the, whoops, go up and get my circle from up here. Make a new circle for this to go around. All right, these are separate, and I copy them, and you're not going to get what you want because this time when I go to do it on the path, I'm not going to even stretch it. I'm just going to do repeated. Look what I got. I only got the very first one. I didn't get the rest. Okay. And I've even tried grouping it, Control G for group, and then copy it, and then go in and put it on the path. And I still just got it plain. And what I found was that I had to make sure all of these were paths. And remember only this one, and I think this should be one. Let me see if it's got the nodes. But this one doesn't have nodes on it because it's a clone. And because, like this one, like the chain and all, it's not, oops, I gotta ungroup it. Okay, this is something working with. This is another thing I wanted to show you tonight. Okay, because these are, when I hit, okay, now they're not hooked together. I can delete that now. Instead of making a clone, I'm just going to make a copy, and I'm going to paste it, and I'm going to put it up here. And we're still going to get, I believe, the same thing, whether I group it or not. When I go to put it on the path, oh, I need to copy it all. Even if it's on a grouped, this is not going to, I'm just going to do, I'll do repeated stretched. Let's see what I get. Again, not. So what I found is if I made them, all of them, into a path, I think I can do it all at once here. Path, object to path. Now let's see if I turned them all into, the chain already was a path because it was done with the pen Bezier tool. I call it the pen tool because that's what it is called in Illustrator. So I've got them, all our paths now, even this one. And now I'm going to, with my selector, select all of them. I'm going to go up to path. And if I go down to right here, it says combine. I can combine several paths into one. Now it's not going to look different, but they should all be together now. And let's see if this will work like it did before for me. Oops, I forgot to undo this, which means I have to make another circle. Okay, I have my pattern copied to the clipboard. I have this. I'm going to go down and get my pattern long path again. I don't want single stretched, repeated. I'm just going to try repeated. Now, if you have elements that you want to be the pattern, you have to make them, select them, make them all into a path, and then copy them and put them to your clipboard. It might have been repeated. Okay, repeated and stretched would have made it fit without this gap. So I'll go back and do that and do repeated, stretched. Now it took the same thing, and notice it's not the same shape now. It's made them wider, but it does have the chains. But notice the chains. Do you notice what's what where there's a problem in this? Can you see what's happened? And if so, oh, I'm going to show you that just a minute, Joan, and how you can like see how it changes the whole thing. Oh, it's not. Must be when there's more than one thing hooked together, it's not changing yet. Okay, I'm using shortcut keys. What you want to do, let me back out again. Okay. When you make your circle, I forgot to turn it into a path. I have to turn the circle into a path too. So path, object to path. Because when you make a circle or a square from these pre-made selections, it's an object and it has, it doesn't have nodes on it. To get nodes on it, you have to make it a path. And then when you use your node tool, like right here below the selection tool, oh, look at the nodes that are on there. Wow. Maybe that's because it went along with the all the copies from here that I had. I bet that's what it was. Okay, let me get. That's the unstretched one. I'm just going to work on that for right now. Notice when I have this selected, let's see if what I think might happen works. If I go to my node tool right here, or just hit my N on the keyboard to edit the paths, I have individual, I'm going to zoom way in, the individual nodes. Now, if I want to change this chain by itself without changing anything else, if I click with my node tool on it, its nodes you can see are highlighted, and I just have this segment. If I don't do any other clicking or anything, I can now, I'm going to use S on the keyboard to get my selection tool, and it's selecting everything. That's not the way I expected it to react. It's going back to everything. Let me see. Yeah, this is not working on this one. I wonder if it's going to work over here. Let me try it on the actual chain. Select it with my node tool. I bet it's because my original one was a clone. No, I didn't make this one a clone. Maybe just, okay, here's the thing. You can see how I did get what I wanted on some of these. And I think it like this one right up here. Um, Let me see on this one if what I'm, no. Okay, well, maybe when I was breaking them down, I guess right here I can just pull this and change it. I thought I could do something a little different. I can also grab the line. Now, the interesting is here is I've got an extra node here. So when I'm using these handles, I'm not getting even because I have this, and they're not hooked together. I don't know why that is either. I'm going to get rid of this node. I'm going to click on it, the center one, and right up here, this is the delete node. Now, if I have these handles the same way, I should get it symmetrical. The other thing I can do is select them both and go up here to the smooth, and up here, this very right one with the red dot in the center of the downward arc, that's make everything symmetrical. This has lined up all my nodes, so everything is even all around. And even at this point, if I select just the circle, let me see if I select this bottom one. If I can, by selecting this one with my node tool, I was able to select the bottom node and change the shape. But notice it's only changing the left one because the right one, I didn't change it yet. So if I select to the right one, and to get the ring nodes instead of the chain nodes, you can see they're showing, but they're underneath this ring. So I know when I selected this, if you select right on the shape, whoops, I double clicked and added a node. Every time you want a new node, you can double click. I know that the circles on each layer even has different levels. I'm not sure if I ungroup them. Maybe that's what I missed doing. But I'm going to select this and click again on the make it into an angle. And now all of my copies have the angle shape. This is one of the reasons why I do like to, like for the round robin, if you've already got part of your pattern made, if you scan it in and then from that, make your rings the correct size and put the right same number around, they're going to all fit around. If not, basically what you have is you're going to be using the diagram to build your pattern. Then you want to tat your piece to fit the number of stitches that fit around the diagram. Does that make sense? Like for this one, I would need to fit my pieces around it. Excuse me a moment. I'll call you back. I'm doing class. Jeff, I'll call you back. I'm doing class. Yep. Bye bye. That was my brother. He lives in Texas. And we are running overtime because we started late. And we are, um, we did class time starts a half hour later. So he doesn't know the changes or that we're running over. But I want it quick. This is a real quick one, the onion ring. I'm going to do that really, really quick. And I'm going to make a brand new, oh, this up here, somehow this got changed. And what I have is the um, partial circle here selected. I want it to be the whole full, which is the red dot, full circle, or full oval. So this, if you get a funny shape when you draw it, it's because this right here was not set to draw you the right, it's if you want to draw an arc or something like that. But it does still have a fill in it, which is a whole nother topic. So I am just going to use my keyboard to make it into nodes and do this. It's easier to see how the shapes change. Now all we're going to do for this is, first of all, we can change how close together we offset it or inset it. I'm not sure what I'm set on right now, but I'll do it this way and then we'll look where you change it. All I'm going to do is I'm going to do Alt-D to make a duplicate, not a clone, but a duplicate, which means all it's doing is the paste in front command, as if you did edit, paste in place, not paste, paste in place. That's Alt, I'm sorry, no, I just made a clone. Alt-D is a clone. Go back a little. Okay, I want to make a duplicate. Control C is copy. It's not, it's Control D. Control D is paste in place. Alt D is clone. So Control D, all I want to do is paste it in place. Now I'm going to go up to, and let me make sure I have two. Yep, I have two copies. I'm going to go up. There is one that you can find. I mean, you can find them out on. Well, let me finish this for a minute, and then I'll talk about that join. I started making one, but then we found one, and I can't remember the link that I gave out for it. It's off the top of my head, I'm not thinking of it. I'm going to just go to Object, go all the way back to Outset, because I'm going to consider what I made my inner ring. This duplicate is going to be outside of that. I'm going to do Outset, which is right here. And now look. I could do it again. I think I need to copy this new one, or make a duplicate. Control D, go out and offset this one. Whoops, I didn't get to path. Offset. Now they'll continually go out in the same increments. Now to get the increments, if that's too close together for your onion rings, and usually two onion rings are usually, they make the bottom the same. I have seen it done a different way, but they match the bottoms up to become your onion ring. We'll have to look at that another time, the difference in how people diagram the patterns. To change the offset amount. This is where you go into your preferences. I'm going to use my little arrow in the bottom right here underneath the center icon and go down and click on preferences. Now here's the preferences box. What I want is not the tools, but behaviors. And I want steps right here under behavior. See the steps right here. Now, this gives you steps right here. Notice this is where you change your rotation steps too. Say you want to rotate by 15 degrees, or I could change it to 30 or 60, which works nice when you're working with the a hexagon shape or the 6 pie shapes, wedges. But right here, this one, outset, mine is set by 2 pixels. You do have your choice of millimeters or inches or whatever. For this, I do normally I work in inches or pixels, depending on what I'm doing. But in a way you can get better increments if you use millimeters. So if I move this up, like it's at 0.52, if I make that 0.6, I don't know how much difference that'll make. You know what? I'm going to go up to 0.8. One of the things to think about when you're not sure how much you need to change something, the one thing I learned in my classes was that change your settings by a bigger amount so you can see what difference it makes, and then regulate in between those if you need to. So because sometimes if you do too little, you don't even see the difference or don't see it enough. So I'm going to set it on 0.8 millimeters. And then I'm going to go now. I've still got the outside one selected. So I'm going to copy that outside one. I'm going to go to Path, Outset. Now see how much wider? It looks like it almost doubled it. And then from now on, if I don't change that, I just made another duplicate, it would continue to outset that amount. So that's how you regulate it. You could always make them bigger or smaller manually, and to get it to go from the center and get it to go, keep the shape, I'm going to hold Control and Shift down together. So you can control it manually too. But this is a fast way to make onion rings. I'll have to look that up, Joan. And I will email it to you. I have your email, I'm sure, somewhere. So I know you get the emails from me. So I'm not sure which list you're on. I think you're on my newest list because I send out 3 different emails, each to a different group of the lists. And I will check into that, ungrouping too. I'm going to play with around more and get more things written down. So try things, see what you get, play around with it. All these pieces parts, you can take them, put them in, others. Or sometimes what I'll do is I'll take this one if I don't want to do any more on it, but I want to keep this. One of the things you can do is select it all, move it all off to the side so you have a blank page to work with and keep it all, or save it as a different version and do more things. I will, Janella. And I think I'm going to continue to work on as time goes by. I still got to get the website up first, which is going to be simple. I don't know why it's taking me so long. a long time I was working with trying to get my server, my domain name switched to point to a different host. So that's it for tonight. I hope you've learned something. I hope you have fun playing, and we'll see you next week. Bye bye.